Good morning. In this week's Sidra of Bor, the Jewish people are told to take silver and gold and beautiful clothing from their Egyptian neighbors, and they'll take that with them when they go on the Exodus. Now, whether the Egyptians understand that these clothes and jewelry won't be brought back, or whether they're under the impression that they will be, is a matter of debate amongst the commentaries. But the point that I want to make is the way in which this actually comes about. When the Jewish people go to their neighbors and ask them, please, can we have all of this precious stuff? What is their reaction? And in fact, in a more general sense, what is the Egyptian feeling towards the Jewish people? Now, if I ask you from first principles, how are the Egyptians going to feel about the Jewish people? Well, bear in mind that this borrowing takes place after 9 plagues. So the Jews start off as a nation of slaves to the Egyptians. They have 9 plagues, after which the Egyptians are reduced. Basically, each individual Egyptian is, I don't want to say reduced to poverty because they still have a lot of wealth, but certainly in vastly reduced circumstances. There's no food left in the whole land of Egypt after the hail and the locusts. They've had the terrible inconvenience of the blood and the frogs and the lice. They've had the terrifying experiences of the wild animals and so forth. And at this point, how do you think they're viewing the Jewish people? So it says something very interesting. Vayitein Hashem et chein ha'am b'nei Mitzrayim. Hashem placed chein, favor, of the Jewish people in the eyes of the Egyptians. Now this word chein relates a warmth, a goodness, a niceness. If you say somebody's got chein, it means you can't help smiling at them. So the Egyptians would see the Jewish people, and they would just burst out into these toothy grins. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. What's going on? How can it be that the Egyptians are loving the Jews? So you could say it's miraculous. You could say, well, it says V'yitain Hashem. Hashem made this happen in the same way that Hashem manipulated Pharaoh's heart, so to speak, strengthening his heart and everything, as we discussed last week. Perhaps Hashem is doing the same with the Egyptians. That Hashem is saying to the Egyptians, he's putting within them a spontaneous love of the Jewish people, even though it's something completely unnatural. However, the Ramban explains this in more psychological terms, is that he says the Egyptians actually had the realization. They said, you know what? After the 100 years of slavery, they said, Jewish people, you're right and we were wrong. You didn't deserve the oppression that you had, and we deserved what's come for us. Where it's just that Hashem has brought these plagues upon us. This idea, essentially, of the Egyptians doing teshuvah. And then it continues saying, Gama ish Moshe gadol meod b'nei avdei Pharaoh that Moshe was gadol meod, greatly respected in the whole land of Egypt, amongst Pharaoh's servants, amongst the nations. One of the commentaries say that when it says he was respected in Egypt, with Pharaoh's servants and the nation, so the standard explanation is whether it was the nobility and the elite, they respected Moshe, or the basic general population also respected Moshe. One of the commentaries says, no, it means the Jewish people liked Moshe. Jewish people are not always so happy with their leaders. Jewish people are not always so easy to please. They loved Moshe, they respected Moshe. And there's a sense from the difficulties with which we started that Moshe was seen by the Jewish people themselves sometimes as someone who was counter to their interests, as someone who was doing bad for them. Now even the Egyptians, who are experiencing the consequences of their hundreds of years of oppression, even the Egyptians are saying, you know what, Moshe is right. Where some of the commentaries put it is they say, we can see, the Egyptians say, we can see that Moshe is trying to end this run of plagues. That Moshe is asking for a reasonable request that the Jewish people should go, and that it's Pharaoh who's standing in the way. And so you really have the sea change in the Jewish-Egyptian relationship that's taking place over here. As the Jewish people come to ask for the gold and silver and precious clothes, at this point, the Egyptians are no longer the vicious oppressors of the Jewish people, nor are they resentful victims of plague, but actually they are reaching out to the Jewish people, the Ramban says, with love and friendship, that they feel a warmth and a goodness. How this works with later on chasing after the Jewish people at the Yam Suf, at the sea, that we'll have to deal with. But for now, I think this is something extremely significant. Shabbat Shalom.